Kyrie Jesu Domine, dona eis requiem.
Good morning and happy Friday as we celebrate the feast of St. Anthony of the Desert today. Born in the 3rd century, died in the 4th. One of our great saintly Egyptians. Oh, Kitty is shaking the camera, sorry. She's pushing on the table. Anyway, he's considered by most of the church, Western and Eastern, as the father of monasticism. That he was really the first to say, hey, Christians need to, at least some do, leave the world, do a life of prayer, a life of penance, a life of solitude for their own personal growth in Christ and to intercede for the world. And we know a lot about St. Anthony because his life was written about by Athanasius, the great defender of the divinity of Christ at the Council of Nicaea, who was a deacon at the time of the Council of Nicaea, but a very gifted one who later, of course, would go on to become the Patriarch of Alexandria. But today we celebrate St. Anthony. If you really want to read about his life, there's a great book called The Apostasy That Wasn't. I may have mentioned it before on one of these podcasts a couple years ago. No, I've mentioned it at Mass. It was a great book detailing his life and really the support that he gave to Athanasius and to the church in Egypt to help combat Arianism and this lie about who Jesus was, a very convincing lie. So today we remember and celebrate St. Anthony. We reflect on our own lives as people who are very much in the world. Here I am on a podcast. I am surrounded by more opulence than I can imagine, even though I do not consider myself wealthy. By comparative standards, I am phenomenally wealthy, incredibly blessed, and gifted. So as we celebrate this feast day, we can ask ourselves about our own ongoing conversion. How attached are we to things? That's always the challenge. And the real test of attachment is probably twofold. One is, how long can you do without it? Now, we're not talking about things that you need, like water and nourishment. But we have a lot of things in life, speaking of water, I'm going to get a drink, that we like and enjoy, but we absolutely do not need. And abstaining from them or fasting from them at times is a good test of how much our things own us or we own them. The other test is this, and this is a good test, is if something suddenly takes it from you, how quickly does it take you to get, yourself recentered again? So, if this house was to burn down, there'd be a lot of things in here that I would miss. I'd be very sad about seeing it destroyed. But ideally, after the shock, I should be ready to try to move on and trying to, get life back and purpose again. My family had to do that once in '73 during the flood, where we foolishly kept most of our belongings in the house when we had warning that it could have been moved out. But we were on high ground. We thought we were safe. And as the Led Zeppelin song goes, when the levee breaks, the water came really, it was like that day was like a bathtub where it just started rising and rising and rising all around us to the point where we were leaving in a boat as it was coming through the front door of the house. And I was in 2nd grade, so I had a concept of what was going on, but nowhere near the idea of the severity of the loss and the trauma, especially as it affected my parents and really sent their life back. But all things move on, and that's one of the things. If we do lose something suddenly, how quickly can we turn to God and trust Him? So that's the real test. And St. Anthony shows us through his life Christ comes first. And read the book. The man worked tons of miracles, gave great advice. Even though he was in solitude in the desert, he was sought by many, many people because of his wisdom and because they knew he was the real deal. Happy Feast Day, and have a great Friday.